Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Jules the Man Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here and discuss it. And today is a very special one because we are ending Danganronpa, and we're going to talk about the last four episodes. What was it? 10, 11, 12,
And
13.
13.
10 through 13 this week. We watched that, and now we're going to come back here and talk about it. And at the end, we're going to pick a new anime to talk about. So from here, we go on to a new adventure. We rate the anime, and then we go on and pick one from this list. Some of these are user submitted, some of them are submitted by us. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing at the end of the episode. But I don't go on these anime journeys alone. I go with my co-host Matt Galley. Matt, you were just playing some board games, right?
I was playing Aeon's End,
It's so fun
left in the middle of the game, to make sure we could do the
to
podcast
talk
on
about
time.
Danganronpa.
Talk about Danganronpa. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing, for sure. No, yeah.
So yeah,
I was having fun with that.
that's good.
But we're here. We're ready to talk about some Danganronpa, and
Cece's here.
we're gonna rate it today. We're gonna pick a new show and frame our new personality after something else.
Yes. And change our Discord names and all that stuff. If you would like to get an anime into the chest before we pick at the end, you can do that by submitting 500 bits. 500 bits on the live Twitch chat is how you can do that. We are live right now on Thursday. It's going to stay like this for a little while, probably late now that I got a normal human job, but they'll be coming out on Fridays as well on YouTube and Spotify. So let's get through it. Let's do it. Let's go through fast because we still got to rate it and we still got to
give our final thoughts and pick a new show.
Yeah, so we got a lot to do, so let's just go through it really quickly. What happened in episode 10? The junk food of despair for racing through youth.
So a new floor unlocks, and they begin to, the remaining students begin to scour the floor. Everybody gets specifically Togami gets suspicious over Kirigiri and how she keeps disappearing when things are happening, so he forces her to give up her room key for whatever reason. They get called to the gym, and everybody's present except for Kirigiri again, and Monokuma's very upset that his personal treasure has apparently been stolen, and that leads us to Naegi and Kirigiri having a aside in the room without any footage. He makes her promise that as she pushes deeper into the investigation, that if anything happens, she'll make her priority to return safe. He then is asked to provide a distraction for her as she attempts to use Monokuma's treasure, which is a master key to the school. And she investigates further and deeper into the locked areas of the school. Naegi finds the next morning the rest of the students toying with a broken Monokuma doll. And while they're undergoing the investigation, Fukawa ends up discovering a new dead body in the botanical garden, which also leads us to them being lured into finding the monitor room, the master control room of the school. Monokuma then reveals that they have all been taking part in a disturbing online reality show, and that the last stages of the show have finally begun.
So that was episode 10. We get a lot of information in this one that there's only 5 floors here in the school. What? I'm I have all this information written down, but I'm why does it matter now? Now that I know the ending, I wrote it down because I was watching it and I was okay, there's some stuff going on, whatever. But I'm it doesn't matter now. It doesn't really matter. I was trying to pay attention, the school, what rooms were opening up. Why does it matter what's going on? Because I thought it would pay off in the end, and it didn't really. So I'm kind of mad about that. But we find out that there's a master key to everything. We find this weird room with just
I don't think this ever really comes back
nope,
into the picture either. This is
nope,
just another red herring in
just a
the
room that
overall, like, story.
with a lot of blood in it. Don't know any of that.
I mean, I guess you could say that, like, given the context of what gets revealed, that, like, that might have been one of the first places where things took place or whatever, but, like, it feels like it's gonna really play into the mystery, not the revelations. Because what's the mystery behind the room?
Because we also find out that it was 2 years since the event that happened. A red blood room in an anime with pink blood. Yeah, what is that like?
That
We're
too.
never going to talk about Danganronpa again. So if that means something,
Say it.
I would love to
Tell
know.
us.
Say it now because that was really weird, like how they changed to red blood sometimes, and I thought it meant something, but then they never explained anything. So I was like, doesn't matter, or was it like the animators not trying to make it more impactful? I don't know. We get the introduction of a masked person. We found, well, not the introduction. We've seen this masked person around,
Yes.
but the introduction of their dead
Ikusaba.
body
Yeah.
here, who we thought was somebody, whatever.
Yeah.
They're
And
dead,
this yeah. Yeah.
and the whole thing was like, okay, cool. I thought it was going to be another mystery, and I thought
Yeah.
we are going to keep
Because
going
it
down
was
that
like
road.
they found a hunting knife, and then Naegi had to be the one to hold the hunting knife, and then the dead body ends up stabbed with the hunting knife after he thought he saw both that person and Kirigiri in their sleep.
Hmm.
And that, like, I don't know if I missed it, but did it ever actually get resolved? Like, how does that murder happen?
Um,
Did I
no,
miss that?
not
It does.
really.
They don't really actually resolve it, right?
It just kind of
Yeah.
because the other thing was more important. So they're just kind of. I have a lot of
So
problems
who
with the end.
was that?
Junko, I think, or was it Kirigiri protecting Naegi?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter because oh my god, they've been on a TV show the whole time. I lost
This
it.
episode. Yeah, this episode is where, like, I think it lost me for sure.
We said it in the beginning before the show started. They had us in the first half, not gonna lie. And that's gonna be the theme here because it really went downhill. I did not think anybody can fumble harder. They did at the end, at the 1 yard line. Tie up all the knots, dot your I's, cross your T's, and I'm golden. Here we go. Make it worth it. And it's starting. This episode is where I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening? CZ says, I think it's because of censorship rules in Japan. The game had to use pink when it's on a person or shows death to bring it away from the fact it's blood. It's a game thing they translate to the anime. Oh, okay. Yeah, we see that before. Where they can't show too much blood or like dismemberment, or they like in animes they cut away for something and all this stuff. So seen that before. But what did you think? What was your initial thoughts? Would they fumble the bag? Well, that's what I think. My opinion here, and I want
On
to
the
know
episode
Matt's
as a
take.
whole.
No. What did you think about? What was your first thoughts when they open up and there's a surveillance room and Monokuma's saying, "You're on TV. This is it."
To me,
What did you think?
like, I'm thinking that he's trying to fake them out, and it's actually, like, some, like, red room site or something, and it's not actually being, broadcasted on national airwaves.
Yeah,
That's what my initial thought is.
that's what I thought too. I
Yeah.
thought it was like, oh, he's just lying. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a good cliffhanger, but I know the real truth is coming
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
But he wasn't lying, apparently.
and that makes it weird. I don't know, man. I do want to dive into it. Let's just get through it.
Yeah,
Let's keep going
keep
because
going, honestly.
this was a lot of setup for what's to come here. So what happens in episode
Yeah,
11?
he explains, all right, now it's time for the next trial. Y'all found a body, right? So I really want to abridge this because, again, I just want to talk about these episodes as a whole, but we need to talk about, we need to cap them all first. So in episode 11, there is
The junk food of despair for racing youth. Again,
thank you.
the title.
Episode 11 has us undergoing a classroom trial that feels very rushed, and basically Naegi begins to call out against the credibility of of the of it as a whole. And Monokuma in that moment manages to make Naegi look like he has blood on his hands by saying like, "Oh, oh, look at everybody, the whoever talks the most is the person that's usually most guilty. All right,
Yeah.
time to vote." While everybody's still trying to figure things out. So the trial gets very rushed, and Naegi gets voted the murderer, in which he didn't commit the murder because us, the audience, know that he
No.
was asleep.
Yeah.
So, given the rules of the game, that should mean that everybody else should be killed, but or no,
Nope.
just everybody should be killed. But no,
Yeah.
like Monokuma drags him away as if he was the murderer. So he's basically beginning to break the rules of the game to force a win. Alter Ego hacks into the execution at the last second to save Naegi, and he gets dumped into the trash room. Kitty Giddy jumps in after him a day after to try to rescue him, and uses the skeleton key to allow them both to escape. On the way through escaping, she mentions that she's regaining her memories and that she's actually a super high school level detective, and that is the merit that she is in this school on. Kitty Giddy and Naegi both approach Monokuma, demanding a retrial for the murder. Monokuma obliges, but says that since this will be their last trial, he's going to add some more spice onto it with some extra rules, in that they must unravel the mysteries of the school as a whole in order to win. And if they cannot do that, they will all be executed. Episode 11.
The one cool part in these 4 episodes for me was this trial in this episode, because the way that it broke the structure of it
Yeah,
so hard, I was like, oh my god, like
it
what's
had me for a
happening?
second. Yeah,
Yeah, because of how, like, they're usually given quite too much time uh
to
to
deliberate.
try and figure out what's going on, and it's almost like super interrupted, and it's like time's up, and it's like, oh my god. And I was like, oh no. Like, I was actually really scared for Naegi. I thought, it would have been cooler if they would have actually killed Naegi.
I think so,
I
honestly.
think that would have been like so ballsy to
Yeah.
do, to just be like, yep, he's dead. And then now we switch to a new main character, and and it was Kitty
And it
Kitty the
was
whole time.
yep, she was the main character the whole time. And then I thought the last couple episodes was going to be like so I thought he was going to get voted guilty, and then it was going to be like everybody gets executed for like, after that or something, and then it was going to do something with like her perspective on what she's been doing while like she's been out of eye shot from everybody and
Mhm.
stuff. I thought it was going to like start to dive into like yeah, I don't know. I really thought that they were going to go through with it, and then they didn't. And then yeah, I had a really bad taste in my mouth where that all happens in the span of one episode, and I'm just like, I feel like I had whiplash where I'm just like,
This
okay.
is where it ramps up so much. Like, I can read fast. That's fine. But like, to people that can't read fast, I can't imagine trying to comprehend what's going on in this anime. I would definitely say, if you're thinking about watching Danganronpa, um don't. And you can't read that fast, don't. I mean, that's one thing, because you're gonna keep going back and back, like rewind or whatever. Because I had to stay on it, and I was like, oh my god,
These
I feel
last
spent.
for mostly the last 2 episodes, there were a couple points where I had to keep hitting the last like rewind 10-second button to just like reread things so it could like stick in my brain, because I'm just like trying to
Yeah.
keep the suspension of disbelief going. But at
Hmm.
some point it's just like, man, like everything was flowing so well at first, like it wasn't like that before.
Hmm.
Now before these episodes.
Yeah. Kitty lies and blames Naegi. It was really odd. Like I
Well,
love
she
the whole
didn't
thing.
necessarily lie, though. She just stated the fact that Naegi could also be the culprit.
Sure.
And then, like, everybody just, like, took that for, well, if that's all we have to go on. Well, now we have to vote. And so, like, I felt like it was believable. I felt like that was believable. And they're all going to be, like, crushed because, like, they were forced to do that in the moment where they didn't have sufficient answers and stuff. And I thought that the pacing of these last like 3 episodes was going to shift because we were going to lose our main character. I thought something different was going to happen, but
Can you
then he just
imagine?
gets
Like,
cop out.
oh my god, that would have been so dope if
Yeah.
Naegi did die. Like, I hate to say it, but like it would have been so much cooler. I would have been way more on board. But we get the whole trick where alter ego is a virus that stayed somehow and helps saves Naegi. Okay, how?
There's
Whatever,
our
man.
Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina. It's fine, I guess. Find out Kitty, like you said, is a super high school level detective, and her father was the principal. And they were separated as a kid, and that's some important information because, sure. Why is it important? There's so much here. I'm sure.
Why is one?
Why
Which
is
part
why is
important?
everything? There's so many things. There's so many things that I thought was going to culminate to something, and it just doesn't. It's just like, okay, and I'm sure in the video game, in the Danganronpa game, all these are really important. All of these have like some final
But
conclusion.
we're
I'm sure.
talking about the anime.
We're talking about
This
the
is the
anime.
anime hour.
But like in the anime, because that's all I have to draw from, there's a lot of pointless stuff, which is cool fan service. If you like, oh my God, yes, that character is this or that character does that. But there's so much here that's way more than 13 episodes worth. And there's so much nonsense that could have been cut, maybe, that didn't need to happen. Because what happens now? Her father was the principal, and she has like this whole thing, this whole other storyline. We're not going to resolve it
About her
now.
like calling him a terrible father and stuff like that.
What does
Like,
that mean?
yeah,
What's all that?
I mean
Found
that
his
comes next
bones?
episode, but still,
Yeah. The vibe is a
yeah.
kid in high school who thinks he's a MC in anime with no substance. Ooh, ooh. But all I'm saying, like, there's questions here, why and how, that keep coming up in these last 4 episodes, and it really takes away from the resolution. And I was really sad that happened. Let's keep going. Episode 12. I don't know. Wait, what do you think? What are you thinking right now? Whenever you finish this episode, what did you think? I don't want to like just keep talking.
By the end, by the end of this episode 11, I don't know. I was like, I kind of had some excitement over the figuring out or the reveal of whoever it was, and honestly, like there was just a passing thought where I did think that like that character Junko, like she had way too much like character design going for her to be killed
Yeah.
off like so quickly, and I was like, I
Yeah.
feel like that's something, but I'm probably thinking about it too much, and it does come back around. I think in the first episode that we did this, I even said like, oh, Kitty, she's the super high school level detective. Like, look at how she's dressed, look at how she's acting, like that's what she is. So I mean, I just, by this point in the show, the revelations were gonna have to be very strung together for it to be any sense of payoff for me.
And I was
And like
hoping.
then all the revelations start to happen, and I'm just like, man,
Fumbled.
I knew that. I knew you
Yeah.
were the high school level detective. I wanted you to surprise me with
And
something
like
else. I
what does that
want to be
even mean?
wrong.
What does
Yeah,
that
exactly.
do for anything? That doesn't do anything.
All it
Oh.
does is
Oh.
give a reason as to why, and
Why
like
she's
through all
like
the trials she's been so perceptive and been able to like just go into the crime scenes and like investigate people's actual wounds, and everybody else is like, oh, that's disgusting. Well, she's a detective, so she's used to that, even though
she
as
doesn't
we
know it.
in the next episode, as the next episode goes, yeah.
CZ says, I'll admit playing the game first, then watching the anime as it aired 10 years ago, I realized just how much information that got cut and I just forgot. It's definitely made me think twice about my favorite animes. The game is still dope as fuck though. Yeah, no, I'm sure the game's fine.
I
I'm sure it's
enjoyed
fine.
watching this for the sake of now I have an opinion about the anime, you
Yeah.
know?
And I can almost certainly say the game is most likely better than the anime.
Yeah.
And if you like visual novels, sure, go for it. How can you be an ultimate high school detective?
That's the whole thing though. They're all ultimate, like one of them, so it is part of the whole set of reveals. It's like, oh, we're the ultimate level soldier. I was part of
But
a
that
mercenary group in high school.
and that doesn't
Like what?
come into play at all. None of their skills came into play at all. They all had high school level, super high school level something,
It did
and none
at
of them.
first. Like the first trial where it was like, oh, he was the baseball player, so that's how he used the glass sphere
Sure,
to like do the chucking. You're the
that was the
only person that could do that. That
that
was
was
like
the
where it
only
was,
time,
yeah, that was the every other time since then it's been relying more on like bonds and character,
which is
like
fine.
the actual character motivations and stuff, like with not Ogami but the one the biker guy. He ends up killing somebody because of his insecurities, like that's why that happened. It wasn't it didn't They end up figuring it out. I forget, because he slips up and says something. It's
Mhm.
not because he's the biker, but it's because he's the biker that he would be the big strong muscular guy that this person would go looking to for advice. That's how they
Yeah.
kind of get that in there. So even then it's like at least a little bit weaved in there, but the further in we get, it disconnects from their personas, as I think it wants us to see them as characters. But because of the pacing of this show, we don't get to know them as characters like you do in the video game,
Mhm.
the remaining cast at least. And
Yeah.
that is one thing that I like about the cast being thinned out to this point, is that everybody that we get, at least at the end, feels more like a character because we get to get more from them. But the
Bubsy
best
said,
character still ends up being the psychopath,
"Sure,
murderer,
yeah."
genocider show. So it's the best character of the show.
Bubsy said, "I actually really like the game." Well, CZ says, "I mean, Celeste tied in somewhat too." Yes,
Which one was Celeste? I'm forgetting.
Celeste was the gambler.
Man,
What?
why am I already forgetting?
You're
The
already
gambler?
erasing it from your mind. Yeah, the super high school level gambler, or what is it? What was her name?
Oh,
She was
that's
the one. That's
right.
why she really wanted money or whatever. She
Yes,
wanted a bunch of money. Yeah,
that's right. Her.
Mm.
Sorry, I forgot
Cho.
about her.
Cho. I'm thinking about the right person, right?
Cell,
Yeah.
Chell, something.
Um. Anyways, we get
Cell,
going.
Celeste, short for
Yeah,
Celeste. Yeah.
the
Okay.
gambler. Whenever they got involved. Yeah. Episode 12. We got to get going. The reason: super high school level bad luck attracted super high school level murder, super high school level execution, and super high school level despair. That's the title of the episode. I hate myself. Episode 12.
The students move about the campus that is now completely unlocked in order to put together their information for the upcoming trial. They find a bunch of tidbits of information, such as the fact that most of them were interviewed by the principal beforehand, but they can't remember it. They find info on Miruku Ikusaba, who is the person that apparently got murdered. Naegi uses the principal's notebook that he found in a secret room with Kitty Giddy, in order to unlock a couple lockers, and he finds a notebook from her, and then the trial commences. Naegi almost immediately brings up that they have amnesia, and that's where it lost me. I'm not gonna lie. The second that term was used universally for all of them, I was just
Ching,
like,
ching, ching,
all right,
amnesia.
what? Anyways, sorry. So Monokuma, they start to, question how. And Monokuma basically explains you're asking the wrong questions. It doesn't matter how, you need to know the why. And so he's erased key memories from them in order to keep them from remembering certain things that will keep the secret group hidden. Naegi notices, he just so happens to notice that Monokuma has tried twice in sequence to hide Junko's actual identity from them. So he accuses Monokuma of being Junko. And it is. Mic drop. Episode 12.
What? What? What?
So apparently, like, Junko swapped places with her sister at the start, and so Junko has been the 16th high schooler, and Muruku Ikusaba was posing as Junko when the school year started for them. And so this is their
she ended
first
up
time
killing her.
yeah. And so this is their first time actually meeting Junko, because if certain memories got erased from beforehand, it wouldn't be any different from meeting Junko for the first time. So episode 13, do we just keep it going? Do you have thoughts?
There's two despairs.
Remarks?
No, just kind of going over what you said here.
Yeah.
There's two despairs. They've all met the
Really
principal
lost
before they
me.
signed up. They voluntarily signed up for this school. They find that out. Ikuzaba, we learn their fate, and they were like, "Who's this body then? What happened here?" And somehow the mic drop is that Junko is the one behind it all.
The mastermind.
Why, you ask? Well, we'll tell you in this final episode.
Yeah.
What
I
will reveal
honestly
everything.
don't get at this point is that, okay, so you two swapped places at the start of the school year, and so Muruku Ikusaba was the one that got made an example of at the start of the school year, right? And so Muruku Ikusaba has been dead this whole time, and so you're just revealing yourself now as the actual Junko. But we thought Muruku Ikusaba was lurking around this whole time, right? So who the fuck is behind the mask? Who's behind the mask? That's a 17th person.
I think what they
I
assumed,
don't get it.
I think what we're supposed to assume that it was Junko lurking
But then
around.
they got stabbed in the chest.
No, the body got stabbed, and it was a play.
That's what happened.
Yes,
okay.
That she was the one lurking around in the mask.
So nobody actually died, and the last trial was fake.
No, the last trial was fake. That's what they made it a kind of a deal that it was.
If I feel like I watched it like 2 times back, and I was like,
okay,
I'm still.
They explained it with the morgue. So the reason why they did the whole morgue scene was because they're like, oh, there's one body. There should be one more body than there's here.
Yes.
Yeah, there's only 9 bodies when 10 have died, and it's like, oh, they just put Ikusaba's body again, and she used her body again to get stabbed.
Thank you.
So that's
kind of what that makes sense then.
And
at least that's something that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That made sense to me. But then it was like all this other stuff.
It's
and I was
just
like, oh,
so much information.
I think Claire's right. Matt needs a hug.
I do need a hug.
Who made us watch this? Had us in the first half.
Me this time.
It wasn't you this time. So yeah, that explains away the whole body thing. But they really didn't touch on who actually was the one that was walking around. I just kind of assumed it was Junko because she's the
no,
the
sure. Then
whatever.
She took the mask off and she put it on the dead body, and okay, I get. But
I was also like, there were so many red herrings as well. There was also like the whole who's Ikusaba. We figured that out fine. There's the principal. We were like, oh, the principal's running around here. Find out that's not a thing. It's like, oh well, this seems like okay, there's really only 16 people. And then the whole revelation of what we find out in the last episode. And I'm like, oh, what is it? And even we didn't say it, but it's still brought up that they are being watched. They are being produced on the airwaves for something. And it's like, what's happening? And they explain everything in 20 minutes. And they wrap it up and never again. And yeah.
Okay.
So
Episode 13.
episode 13, goodbye, despair high.
Junko has her villainous monologue. Junko puts some images up on the screen asking if everybody remembers, and they have to call upon Genocider Show for an answer because the two personalities within Fukawa don't share memories, but they do share information. Is that how they put it? Which, okay, sure. And basically, like, Genocider shows like, what, you guys don't remember the disaster that happened, and we don't really get anything out of it.
What do you mean? It was the most insane thing to ever happen.
We already know that's a thing. We've already been told that happened. I'm sorry. Junko explains how they're like the sole survivors of the last class, and that the principal put together a shelter plan for everybody because of this disaster that was taking place. But oopsies, the despair was already in the school. So all the students sealed up the school with their own two hands, locking themselves in with the ultimate despair, sealing their own fates. Junko puts everybody up to one last vote where they can choose for hope or despair. And if they choose for hope, then they can all leave. But if even one person chooses despair, they have to... Nagi will be executed and everybody else stays. And if they choose for hope, Junko will be executed. And the air purifier is apparently the only thing keeping the world going, the school healthy and clean, and the outside world is polluted. So if they leave, it'll be a despair-filled world they're going to, apparently. Naegi and everybody chooses for hope, and Junko accepts defeat. Everybody explains that they don't want her to die, but she tells them to butt out of it and accepts her execution. And she goes through a roulette of every other execution that we have seen on the show so far.
This is where they lost me. When she was going through all the things.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's just like, whew. Anyways, everybody exits the school side by side, where they are looking towards a future filled with both hope and despair intermingled. And the real despair was the hope we made along the way.
What the fuck happened in this last episode, man? The despair twins. We get the catastrophe. Can we talk? Okay. We got to talk about this catastrophe.
Why?
This is a huge point. What happened?
They don't talk about it, so why do we have to talk?
Okay.
Like Monokuma
right.
says, it doesn't even matter about the how. All that matters is the why.
No,
or
it matters.
Sorry.
No,
all that matters is all that matters is the why, right?
Yeah.
So why does it happen? It happens to make the outside world uninhabitable, and they're trapped inside the school where the shelter plan has to go off, also trapping them with despair. That's why it matters. Did they explain,
anybody that's played the games, did they explain what happened? Because apparently it's just some Joker idea. It's more of a
we live in a
society. It's more of just an idea that we spread despair, and then we see big robots taking down buildings. Well, that doesn't make sense. How do we jump from here to here? Yeah,
just a huge Monokuma.
And then
actually after the end credits roll, like, we see a Monokuma doll laying there on the ground, and it's like,
I want to talk about it too.
I'm not dead, I'm Monokuma, and it gets back up, and
They
walks
covered in
away.
seasons 2 and 3 of the anime?
That sounds on
That's a
par.
lie. That's a lie. You're gonna make us watch it. That's a lie.
No, that sounds
Uh,
on par. That honestly sounds like some
Body.
like similar to The Promised Neverland, where
Sure.
it's like they have this, this honed in
And I
story that they're trying to tell. Promised Neverland did it better. But by the by the end of it, you have all these questions, but it's kind of almost like one of those things where it comes down to you to create the answers. But then as the people demand more and they try to continue to tell the story, those answers do show up, but then they're not as
but they're not
satisfying.
satisfying. Yes. It did really remind me as well, definitely, of the Promised Neverland, and there was some parallels here because of the way that everybody's sort of confined in this one area. They're trying to get out. They don't know what's outside. They don't know what's going on, and then they finally see it, and here we are, and we're at the end. That was sort of like how Promised Neverland worked, but where that one differed, where Promised Neverland differed from Danganronpa season one, I was so overjoyed with them finally reaching it at the end
Oh yeah.
for Promised Neverland, and like
I
I'm
felt like it was
fine with
deserved. They earned it. They went through so much to make that happen.
never watching the next two seasons. No
Hmm.
matter what I thought or what people have said about it, I'm fine with living with my imagination and living
Exactly.
with the hope and the thought of them actually, whether they do or not, of them actually being happy and all that stuff. But in this one, it just was really way more convoluted to where those big beats didn't hit for me when they could have. Like it really could have
Because it didn't
if
take its
they
time with
if they didn't
things.
super slam all this stuff at the end, at the very end of the very last episode. And I get most of it needed to be said, but a lot of it didn't, and a lot of it was confusing. A lot of it was way too fast, and it was just a lot. CZ says, "I'm really not. I think they already have the second season signed off before season one aired." Okay,
They yeah, see it ends with the last thing you see is basically a confirmation saying like see you for season 2.
yeah, which you
No.
lost me there. Claire says, I've seen enough of the games to think that while they can write individual mysteries, I don't think anything else is cohesive and can stand any degree of scrutiny. So that's where the hard part comes, because we do have to rate this anime and we got to finish it out. And they really did some cool stuff. Like
Yeah.
it sucks now at the end seeing what it actually culminated to, because there was actually some stuff I really enjoyed, probably the most out of any of the anime we've seen, like some
Yeah.
really cool mystery
In a
stuff.
vacuum, there was some really good moments. Even honestly, like I gotta say, um the whole part where everybody's like where I'm sorry, the part where Junko's like everybody needs to vote for despair or for hope, yada yada, and everybody's trying to like decide, and like they're immediately like sunken, and
And
Junko's
then
like but and Naegi starts like shooting comments off to everybody like with his little bullets,
yeah,
his little bullets of information that he like starts shooting off to everybody. Like that part is like cool in a vacuum, but because the everything else around it just fell flat, I didn't get to feel again the impact of the moment, because
yeah.
it was like really cool. And then the one thing where like he does his like final blow, his final move, and it's like showing him as like a huge ray of hope, like super cool sequence. I really liked it, but it didn't like hit me.
It didn't hit as well because of all the different components that are happening and some of the stuff that we're just learning in this last episode, because we learned as well that it was being broadcast by her so that she can show that the last rays of hope are dead and that hope is nothing or whatever, because despair rules. And then she was like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a huge polluted world out there. uh by the way, this is the I don't know. There was like a bunch of other
it
stuff.
was it
Like,
was too many like large revelations that other things weren't really strongly hinting at.
yeah,
Like it was just like just turning over a whole like sheet of paper, and you think you studied for the test that's about to be on that sheet of paper, and it's just a totally different subject, and you're just like, oh well, if I
I
had
thought
known it
this
was
was
this
math
subject though,
class.
you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, exactly.
And it really didn't touch on, for me, why it didn't really hit was because of her sort of reasoning. There's no real reason here other than her being wild, uh wildly into despair. And while I do believe that's some sort of like Joker figure, which we sort of see a lot in media, I don't think it was enough here. There's too much at stake, too much world defining things for her only option to be like, oh, I just love it. And then when she finally gets her comeuppance, she's like, oh, this is what it feels like. I love this. And I've always wanted to make everybody in the world feel this. Why? What? What is this? This is just for the fun of it, I guess, like anarchy for the sake of it, which is, I guess,
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
I guess, but like, why
I know.
and what and what is
Doesn't mean it's compelling storytelling.
no. And at the end, they finally get out really quickly, and then the whole revelation that the way it seemed to me was that Monokuma was sentient
Yeah, but the way
somehow.
it leaves it off.
By the
So
way,
maybe it's like, maybe that's the thing, that he's something, deity thing being that influences people, and this was actually all by design of that thing.
but by Monokuma being sentient and the whole they're on TV thing, broadcasting the world's pollute, like all these little things, and then
Ugh, I don't get it.
for it to be this
I
at the
don't
end,
get
it
it.
really
I
like
don't.
undermines the viewer a little bit, I
It
think.
does.
It
I agree.
undermines my knowledge and my ability to weave ideas because they're like, well,
It
it's
doesn't
not this.
reward
We
you for
told
paying
you.
attention to everything that's being set up. It's just like, oh well, actually,
Yeah, we told
this
you all
is
this
what's going
stuff.
on. Yeah, exactly.
We were being
Like I said,
dishonest
you were
here.
told to study for, history. Guess what, math? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Claire says, I think the flaw is trying to explain the setting. It really doesn't matter. Just have your murder game and crimes to solve, then pack up and go home. Yeah, because that's what they did
It took
well.
it out of its scope,
Yeah.
and I think I said something about that in the first couple episodes where I was like, I feel like it's either gonna land it, stick the landing, and tell a good story that's like honed in, or it's gonna get too out of its scope and it's just gonna fall. I feel like I said something along those
Sure.
lines.
We got to give this anime a rating and we got to
Yeah.
get out of here and we got to pick a new anime for us. But if this is your first time watching through an anime, at the end of watching 13 episodes of the first season, we rated on 3 criteria and then we put it up against all the other anime that we watched on the show. We rated by animation, storytelling, and vibes, then give it an overall rating and put it on our board S through F tier. And we discussed a little bit. Matt, how do you feel about animation for Danganronpa?
Animation, I'm giving it a B for animation. It was pretty entertaining to watch. The sequences play out, like I said, were really good. I liked the bits that felt like watching a video game play out. I think it's very well presented with animation for the fact that it's adapted from a video game. I think
Sure.
they use the cues to uh, great effect in the show. How would you rate the animation?
High B, A minus. Like you said as well. I really enjoyed the way it looked. That wasn't any question. I love the different, like even in the beginning when they first I don't know why I was just so in awe when they finally did the executions. The execution, the art style, the way
Yeah,
the 3D meshed with the 2D, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool and super unique." Like I think you said it before, it reminded you of Madoka Magica whenever the
witch
witches had a thing.
domains.
Like I
Mhm.
felt that. Like whenever I watched Madoka Magica for the first time in college, like I was like, "Whoa, look at this art. I love it. It's so different to me." And it felt very unique. And that's how I felt now watching Danganronpa. I think it was really good in those moments. And it didn't like outstep anything. Like I didn't find anything wrong and I was completely okay with the animation. So high B, low A is how I felt. Storytelling. What would you give storytelling?
I'm giving it a D for storytelling. This gets a D. It ramped up really good. It ramped up really good, but once you start once you say Amnesia Man as one of your main storytelling devices, you've lost me. It's it's not a good
No,
trope to use
no.
in storytelling. I don't really think I need to elaborate on that much
Sure,
on that part. For the first couple murder mysteries, it was very entertaining. The more the show ran on, and the more the scope got, like again, the bigger the scope got, it didn't do anything with its expanding scope. Oh, the new areas of the school are opened. That's great, cool. But then everything isolated happens, and it never really got to the point where it was like there's the one murder with the two guys moving around, their bodies moving around and stuff, but other than that, like the floors of the school never mattered and stuff. And like you were saying, they're mentioning like, oh, fifth floor is the max floor of the school, yada yada. There's just so much that just found its way to the floor and not actually being used.
I think there was a huge ground pool on floor 3 or something, and that
Yeah.
was the first time where I was like, "Hold on, what?
Yeah. A
What?
botanical garden on the top level with that
Why
huge
not?
flower in the middle.
Fuck it."
Anyways, so yeah, the storytelling, it starts off really strong, and I thought it was like going to be able to keep that, you know, that tightly wound storytelling to it, but with how it plays out over the course and how it leaves us with its ending, it's getting a D for me. Where would you
Sure.
put the storytelling?
Yeah, D minus for me, man. This was just they hit it right in the beginning, and I wanted more of that. It gave me enough to where I was like, I just want a bunch of this crazy mystery stuff because we don't see a whole lot of mystery, like, well, at least it's not in my anime vocabulary to watch mystery
Hmm.
anime or things like that. I mean, there's some manga and stuff recently, but like nothing was hidden like that. And I was like, yo, this is so cool. This is Sherlock Holmes. I wanted to be like some Scooby Doo thing. I wanted it to be
Hmm.
like, oh, it all lines into place. It all makes sense. All of these things here, let me pull the veil off of your eyes, and here's all the things that you missed. And I was like, oh, cool. And I thought that's how the ending was going to be, and it wasn't. And there was a lot of fluff and a lot of stuff that didn't need to be there. But again, like we're learning is that there's a season 2 that ties into it. But don't you have to keep them watching? If I wouldn't keep watching if it ended like that, I'm not gonna want to watch a season 2. Why
Hmm.
would I? Why would you make me feel dumb
Rush
and
me
then
through another
yeah,
thing and
rush
not
me
give me
through
answers,
a
and
bunch
yeah,
of other
exactly.
stuff, and I just don't wanna because you made
This
me
would
feel
have
stupid.
highly benefited from the first season being the first like 3 murders and really taking more time to like flesh out investigations
Sure.
and character interactions between the classroom trials, because classroom trials being a whole episode themselves just slogged the pacing of the show.
Yeah. So D minus for storytelling. Vibes. What do you give it?
Vibes are getting a C from me. Um, the vibes weren't bad at the beginning. Again, just as the show went on, I just found myself like not vibing with the show as much. I felt like more convoluted things were happening that were requiring me to just, really try to keep that suspension of disbelief going a bit stronger. But the vibes definitely episode 10 kind of like dropped pretty fast when one of the new bodies wasn't like one of the new murders wasn't one of the core like group. Then I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Sure.
Yeah. um I wasn't really being entertained by the show at that point, and I just found
Yeah.
myself wanting it to be over. I
Oof.
found myself wanting to have the answers. I was like, all right, I think I just want to know what's going on. And then it's
Sure.
like, all right, here's what's going on. It's like, really?
Yeah. They
But
give it to you
again,
and
it
you're
starts
like,
off strong, and I had so many good things to say about it in the last 2 episodes. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't praise it, like, the last 9 episodes or so. So it's getting a C for me, but this last 4 really drop off in the vibes department as well.
sure.
Where would you put the vibes?
First CZ says, I even reevaluated my thoughts on it post watching with y'all, but we didn't bottom. frag, so I'll take that as a win. No. It's not going to be at the bottom. Vibes were C for me. Man, I wanted all of it to make sense. It was vibing. The beginning mysteries were so cool. I was there for it. And then it just kind of all exploded. Like, I just don't know. Like, the last 4 episodes, I was just at the end, I was like, okay. And then the episode we've done, I'd be like, okay. And then more stuff would happen. I'm like, what is this? How did this happen? So it didn't, usually anime, whenever we rate them or whenever I rate them, it's like a slope where I'm like, okay, this started off good. And then by the end, I'm like, oh my God, it was so good. And I'm overwhelmed by how good it was. And that's what gives it an S or something like that. I start off at a B with an anime, and then it's like, oh, it's an S tier because it got so much better. And we learned so much about these characters and I love them and all this stuff. But it started off for me like as an A or an S, maybe even. And then it just went down. This is the first time where I was like, as I'm watching, I want to watch less of it. I wanted to
Mhm.
only watch the first like 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy. Dan says, damn, I'll have to watch the recap because I missed the noti for start of stream.
Oh
Don't
no.
worry. It's gonna be up tomorrow on YouTube. So you can watch youtube.com/JulesTheHuman if you missed any of it. Or you can watch on Spotify. It comes out on Spotify tonight at 2 a.m. So you can watch the replay of that because we're almost done.
We're
But
almost done.
we
So that
rated
takes
it.
us to a drum roll,
Drum roll,
please.
please. How did we find Danganronpa? Where do we rate it? Danganronpa season 1. For me and Matt, we give it C's. Just a pair of C's here. Good, honest C's. The very first ranked C's
Yep.
ever for our show. And this is where it stacks up against all the other anime that we've already watched. The only C there. And there it is. On the left is me, on the right is Matt. There's all the anime, a bunch of S tiers,
I
B's,
think our tier lists are
A's.
coming together
Yeah,
quite nicely. I gotta
sure.
say, I'm looking at it and like there's like maybe one like retroactive swap I might want to make, but like everything I'm like this is all holding up over time to me.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Pretty
Mhm.
good. These are the anime that we're going to
Cool.
be picking from here just a few moments. But do you have any final thoughts about Danganronpa? Would you
Mm.
recommend it? If someone said,
I wouldn't
"Hey,"
recommend it.
okay, so
I
that's what
wouldn't
a C
recommend.
means.
A
C is
C
like
means yeah. A scene. Hello. Is that me?
what?
Hello. Am I like losing connection?
No.
No.
What do you mean?
It's getting like it was getting choppy for a second. Like
No,
I was
you're fine.
getting like a weird feedback. Sorry.
It's Monokuma.
Monokuma's revenge. Monokuma's curse. So a C to me is like, hey, this isn't necessarily bad, but I wouldn't recommend it because there are so many other better things you could be watching. It's just so middle of the road that should you waste your time on it? I
Sure.
wasted my time on it, so you don't have to. A
It's
B is
yeah.
like it's good, and if it's in your niche, you're probably really gonna like it. But
Sure.
anybody, I could probably generally recommend it to. That's how I feel. The difference
Because
between a C and a B.
I also would not recommend Danganronpa for
Yeah,
anybody to watch it.
C's are no recommend, but it's like I'm not saying it's bad,
Yeah, because I was
but I'm
so
not saying it's
I'm just
good.
disappointed. I'm just disappointed. Disappointed at the ending. I don't want to watch another
I
season. I'll
had
probably
to
just
think
look it
about it a
up.
lot. I did have to think about it a lot
Yeah.
whether or not I wanted to put it C or D. So I will say, like canonically, it's probably like a C minus, D plus, but I decided to put it C
Sure.
in the tier list.
And I was looking at D or C here, and I was just like, let's go. Yeah, Shove says, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Man, that's this anime. I
That's
really
this
wanted
anime.
things. I really wanted things to be things, and they weren't things. You know?
Yeah.
Anyways, no more Danganronpa. No more Danganronpa talk. We are picking a new anime that we're going to be watching for the next 3 weeks or so. And it is one of these. A lot of these are user submitted. If you want to submit an anime, you can do that during our live shows on Twitch, twitch.tv/JulesTheHuman. We have a lot of them here. You can donate 500 bits if you would like to get an anime in, probably for next time because we don't have enough time for y'all to do it right now. But there's Come and Can't Communicate, Odd Taxi, Mob Psycho. We have all of them on the
Cool.
Discord. So there's a Discord. You can join to look at all of those if you're audio only. And that is Matt shaking up the chest. And we're going to pick a new anime to watch. And all of these, most likely, we have not seen yet.
The anime chest of despair.
The anime bucket of hopefully
All
not
right.
despair. That's what this bucket is.
Let's
So,
see what we got. I
what is
got
it?
it. It's in my hand. Oh, this one's Odd Taxi.
Finally.
Finally.
That was mine.
That's yours.
That was the one I put in there since the beginning.
That was one of your first drops in the
41
chat.
episodes
41
ago.
episodes in. We did it. We did it.
Finally. I like to thank the Academy.
I'd like to thank
the
your
little
bribe.
people.
No, I'm just kidding.
All the little people I had to step on. Odd Taxi. I heard the things I've heard about this anime is it's some people's favorite anime ever, and it's so good. And it's a little silly, a little real, and there are a bunch of cute little animals. So I'm super excited for Odd Taxi. I have not seen it, and I really wanted to save it for the show because I feel like I'm going to like it. From the people that like it, I'm like, I think I would like it because of them.
Set in a world of anamorphic animals, it tells the story of walrus taxi driver Hiroshi Odokawa, who converses with his passengers and learns about various mysteries and oddities occurring in Tokyo.
How many episodes in the first season?
Ooh, good question. First season gonna be
because I think there's 4 seasons.
13. So we could do the same
episodes.
thing we did with this one.
Sure.
Where we did
4, 5, 4
in the middle one. Yeah. 4, 5, 4.
So watch episode 1 through 4 of Odd Taxi. It should be on Crunchyroll. It should be on Netflix too. I'm not sure. It's on Crunchyroll. But Odd Taxi, ODDTAXI, and that's going to be our personality. Change your names and all that stuff in the Discord. But that's the anime that we're going to be watching for the next 3 weeks, and I'm super excited. And that means Matt gets to put a pick into the bucket now because one of mine got picked. So Matt's going to add an anime to the chest for 3 weeks from now. But we are watching Odd Taxi 1 through 4. We're going to talk about it next Thursday, probably about this time because now I'm a normal human. So probably this time next week, we're going to watch Odd Taxi for the first time, and hopefully you watch it as well. And maybe it's your first time, but that's what the show's about: watching new anime, seeing what you like, seeing what you don't like, getting to get tastes of different. Because me and Matt get tastes of a bunch of different anime. We've been watching so many.
A lot of different stuff,
and it's so cool to just come back and just start fresh and see if we like it. And if we don't, that's okay. Keep going.
Because we're only stuck with it for 3 weeks, not even a month.
Yeah. So we would love for you to watch it together with us and come back and discuss it. But Matt, where can they find you when you're not in a high school of despair?
When I'm not in a high school of despair, I try to be on my Twitch when all the stars line up. We know how it goes, but I do try to stream on my Twitch at Matt Galley. On my Twitch at Matt_Galley. You could also follow me on any of my socials at ITS Matt_Galley. Add an ITS at the front, and you can follow me on any of my socials. When we're not here talking, getting ready to get in the Odd Taxi, where can the people find you?
Jules the Human on all the things, JULES the Human on all social media, youtube.com/Jules the Human. You can see episodes of this podcast on there if you want to go back. And if you missed any of the anime, if you're like, oh, they really did this anime, oh my god, I gotta see what they think about it, go back. It's all there on YouTube or on Spotify. Just look up the Jules and Matt Anime Hour and it should be there on Spotify. You can watch videos there as well. I'm pretty sure Matt waits till I am not online to stream.
I wait until literally nobody's online. That's when I stream.
And then he streams, yeah. But thank you so much for going on the Danganronpa journey with us. We're going to be jumping into the Odd Taxi and see what we find. So, yeah, but Jules Human, that's Matt, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.